fascinated because everything was, it was intriguing. So when I stopped publishing Wet, I decided to go to Japan. In the way I define Wabi Sabi, in a sense, is that there's a kind of quintessential particularity about it, meaning that when you look at something from a Wabi Sabi context or frame of mind, it is what it is. It's special because it is this. On the other hand, it's not you could say it's not special because there's a million things like that, but you're looking at it in a way in which you're seeing its uniqueness in the universe. In some ways, Wabi Sabi is the antithesis, the opposite of the things that the digital strives for, the perfect, the enduring, a certain kind of completeness. And so Wabi Sabi, in a sense, is the other side of the story. It's the other hand. It's the yin or yang of the sphere. It is what it is. It's poor. It's defenseless. The next snowstorm could wash it away, or the wind could blow it away. It's definitely a Japanese feeling environment. Feel like we stepped out of Italy and stepped into Japan. But there was one thing in particular that struck me very interesting. There's an originality here that I find authentic and good. And it's not a huge space, but I find that it's still mysterious about how it's organized spatially, and I like that. Also, there's buildings here that are hybrid. There's an Italian base for a building, and then there's a Japanese overlay or a Japanese integration of Japanese architecture ideas. And I find that that's extremely honest and satisfying. There's an element of falseness. When you take something from one culture and bring it to another culture, it has to have that richness of both cultures coming together. And I find that this place has that. The overly rigid quality of some Japanese gardens, which is satisfying in a formal beauty way, I find it's also a little stifling, because it means that the garden is more important than you when you walk through it. And here I find that there's a good balance.
The concept of the Japanese garden, I drew this garden maybe 20 years ago, when I began to do the project and the restoring of these three buildings. And I had the idea to also design and realize the garden. Last year we went to Japan for a trip, and my intention was to visit only gardens. So we went visiting many, and mainly in Kyoto. And I remember I was at the Daitokuji contemplating the garden, and I had a deep experience by the practice of meditation. And it gave a very deep sense of quietness, and also the observation of the garden and my observation, they became one. So there was no more someone who was watching at the garden, but garden and the observator were one altogether. So I thought myself, maybe I can do something like this when I go back to Italy. I was inspired. The aim was very strong to do it, and so we began slowly. We went to the choice of the stones, and then we found out the gravel, the depth, and we collect all the materials. And at that point, I started thinking about that my very first design was about a display of a cosmos that is related with Buddhism, actually, and particularly with the Kalachakra Tantra. So I asked my master, which is now in Taiwan, and I asked him, please, can you help me to do a right display of this mandala? And he said, yes, I will do this. So asymmetry and symmetry, they have to work a little bit together, because I didn't like this. And then we did it. So my favorite spot in Japan is Kyoto. Kyoto because represent the blending of the modern society and part of the ancient, and also there are many temples. Favorite, I would say the Daitokuji, this complex of temples, and there is a beauty, not only one, there are different, several gardens, and that is the place where I were inspired to do the garden here.